Qur'an, Chapter 83, Surah Al-Mutaffifin by Sayyid Qutb. Translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Woe to those who cheat in measure and weight, who, when they take from others, demand full measure, but when they give by measure or weight, they give less. Do they not think they will be resurrected for a mighty day, a day when all shall stand before the Sustainer of all worlds? Nay, the record of the wicked is in Sijin. And what will make you comprehend what Sijin is? A record inscribed? Woe, on that day, to the deniers, those who deny the day of recompense. None denies it except every sinful transgressor, who, when our verses are recited to him, says, "Tales of the ancients." Nay, but their hearts have been veiled by what they earned. Nay, on that day they will be veiled from their sustainer. Then they will surely enter the blazing fire. Then it will be said, "This is what you used to deny." Nay, the record of the righteous is in Ilion. And what will make you comprehend what Ilion is? A record inscribed, witnessed by those brought near. Indeed, the righteous will be in bliss, on thrones, gazing. You will recognize in their faces the radiance of bliss. They will be given to drink pure wine, sealed. Its seal will be of musk, so for this let the competitors compete. And its mixture is from Tosneem, a spring from which those brought near drink. Indeed, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed. And when they passed by them, they would wink at one another. And when they returned to their people, they would return jesting. And when they saw them, they would say, "Indeed, these have gone astray." But they had not been sent as watchers over them. So today, those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers on thrones, gazing. Have the disbelievers been repaid for what they used to do? This surah captures a vivid scene from the reality the prophetic call was confronting in Mecca. Alongside its aim to awaken hearts, stir emotions, and direct them to this new event in the life of the Arabs, and indeed, in the life of humanity, the divine message to the earth, encompassing within it a new, comprehensive vision. At the outset, this portion of reality is depicted as the surah pronounces woe upon those who cheat in measurement on the mighty day when all people will stand before the Sustainer of all worlds. The surah then concludes by portraying the contemptuous behavior of the wrongdoers toward the believers, their mockery, their sneers, and their derisive laughter, saying of them, "These are surely astray." In addition to this, the surah presents the condition of the wicked and the righteous, and the fate of both on that great day. The surah is composed of 4 distinct sections. The first section begins with a declaration of war against those who defraud others in measurement. Woe to those who give less, who, when they take by measure from others, demand full measure, but when they give by measure or weight to others, they give less. Do they not think they will be resurrected on a great day, the day when all people will stand before the Sustainer of all worlds? The second section speaks of the wicked with harshness and rebuke, threatening them with woe and destruction, condemning them for their sins and transgressions, and explaining the cause of their blindness and their hardened hearts. It vividly portrays their punishment on the day of judgment, the torment of being veiled from their sustainer, just as their sins had veiled their hearts on earth, and then their burning in hell with shame and reproach. Nay, the record of the wicked is in Sijin. And what will make you understand what Sijin is? A record inscribed. Woe on that day to the deniers, those who deny the day of recompense. And none denies it except every sinful transgressor. When our verses are recited to him, he says, "Tales of the ancients." Nay, but their hearts have been veiled by what they earned. Nay, on that day they will be veiled from their sustainer. Then they will surely enter the blazing fire. Then it will be said, "This is what you used to deny." The third section presents the contrasting scene. The scene of the righteous, their exalted status, the bliss prepared for them, the radiance that shines upon their faces, and the pure drink they will enjoy as they recline on thrones, gazing. Nay, the record of the righteous is in Ilion. And what will make you understand what Ilion is? a record inscribed, witnessed by those brought near. Indeed, the righteous will be in bliss, on thrones, gazing. You will recognize in their faces the radiance of bliss. They will be given to drink pure wine, sealed, its seal will be of musk. So for this let the competitors compete. And its mixture is from tasneem, a spring from which those brought near drink. The final section describes the wrongs the righteous are to endure in the false, deluded world from the wicked, mockery, ridicule, and ill treatment, only to set in contrast the outcome of the righteous and the wicked in the enduring, everlasting reality. Indeed, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed, and when they passed by them, they would wink at one another. And when they returned to their people, they would return jesting. And when they saw them, they would say, "Indeed, these have gone astray," but they had not been sent as watchers over them. So today, those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers, on thrones, gazing. Have the disbelievers been repaid for what they used to do? The surah, in its entirety, reflects a facet of the environment in which the prophetic call was delivered, as well as a facet of the method of the call in addressing the realities of the environment and the realities of the human soul. This is what we shall attempt to uncover in our detailed exposition of the surah. Woe to those who give less, who, when they take by measure from others, demand full measure, but when they give by measure or weight to others, they give less. Do they not think they will be resurrected on a great day, the day when all people will stand before the sustainer of all worlds? The surah begins with the declaration of war by God upon those who defraud others in measurement. Woe to those who give less. Woe, which signifies destruction, whether it is meant as a decree or a supplication, it is one and the same, for the supplication of God is a decree. The next two verses clarify the meaning of those who defraud. They are those who, when they receive by measure from others, demand full measure, but when they measure or weigh for others, they give less. They are those who demand their goods in full when they are buyers but give short measure when they are sellers. Then the following three verses marvel at the audacity of these defrauders, who behave as if there is no reckoning for what they earn in this worldly life, as if there is no gathering before God on a great day when all accounts will be settled. Do they not think they will be resurrected on a great day, the day when all people will stand before the sustainer of all worlds? To address the matter of defrauding with such intensity in a Meccan surah is noteworthy. Meccan surahs typically focus on the fundamental tenets of faith, such as affirming the oneness of God, the absolute will of God, and His dominion over the universe and mankind, the truth of revelation and prophethood, and the reality of the afterlife, with its reckoning and recompense, while also nurturing a general moral consciousness and linking it to the core tenets of faith. To address a specific moral issue, such as the issue of cheating in measurement and weight, and general transactions, came later in the Medinan surahs when the focus was on organizing the life of the community under the Islamic State, according to the comprehensive Islamic method for life. The focus on this particular issue in a Meccan surah is indeed noteworthy, hinting at various profound implications hidden within these brief verses. Firstly, it indicates that Islam was confronting a blatant practice of fraudulent dealings in the Meccan society, carried out by the elite, those who simultaneously wielded great economic power, almost monopolizing trade. These powerful individuals possessed vast wealth, engaging in commerce through caravans journeying to Yemen and Syria during the winter and summer seasons. They also established seasonal markets, like the market of Ukaz during the pilgrimage season, where they conducted their transactions and recited poetry. The Quranic verses subtly suggest that those who cheat in measurement, whom God threatens with woe and declares war upon, were the influential elite with the power to compel others to their will. They would exact full measure not from, but upon the people, as if they held authority over them for some reason, coercing them to give full measure and weight by force. The implication is not that they were merely claiming their due, for that would not warrant such a severe divine response. Rather, it is understood that they were seizing more than their rightful share through compulsion, taking what they wanted by force. Yet, when they measured or weighed for others, they wielded enough authority to deprive people of their due, without the latter being able to seek redress or reclaim their rights. This could be due to their social status and tribal influence, or due to their wealth and the people's need for what they possessed, coupled with their monopolization of trade, forcing people to accept this injustice. This egregious practice of fraudulent dealings was so flagrant that it warranted this early divine admonition. This early mention in the Meccan environment also reveals the nature of this faith and the comprehensive nature of its method for addressing the realities of life and its practical matters, grounding them in a deep, intrinsic moral foundation inherent in this divine, upright path. The faith detested this glaring injustice and moral corruption in transactions, even before it had taken control of social life to organize it according to its law through the power of the state and the force of law. It sent forth this resounding cry of war and woe upon those who defraud others, who were then the sustainers of Mecca, wielding dominion, not only over the souls and emotions of the people through their pagan beliefs, but also over their economic affairs and means of livelihood. Islam raised its voice high against the oppression and exploitation inflicted upon the people, who were the common folk, exploited by their powerful leaders, the traders, the usurers, the monopolists, those who simultaneously held sway over the masses through the deceptions of religion. Thus, Islam, with this cry emanating from its very essence and divine method, served as a wake-up call for the oppressed masses. It was never a sedative for them, even when besieged in Mecca by the might of the tyrants, who controlled society through wealth, status, and religion. From this, we can grasp some of the real reasons that led the chiefs of Quraysh to stand so stubbornly against the Islamic call. They undoubtedly realized that this new message brought by Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not merely a belief that rested in the heart, requiring nothing more from them than a spoken testimony that there is no God but God and that Muhammad is his messenger, and prayers offered to God without idols or images. No. They understood that this creed entailed a method that would demolish the very foundations of the Jahiliyyah upon which their positions, interests, and statuses were built. They knew that the nature of this method accepted no duality and could not be reconciled with any earthly element not born of its divine essence. They perceived it as a threat to all the base, worldly components upon which their Jahiliyyah was founded. Thus, they waged war against it, a war that did not cease before nor after the migration. This war represented their defense of all their structures against the onslaught of Islamic order, not merely against abstract beliefs and concepts. Those who fight against the dominance of the Islamic method over human life in every generation and every land understand this truth well. They know that their false systems, usurped interests, fabricated entities, and deviant behaviors are all what the upright, noble Islamic method threatens. The tyrants, the oppressors, the defrauders, in any form of defrauding, whether in wealth or in other rights and duties, are the ones who fear most the dominance of that just, pure method, a method that tolerates no compromise, no flattery, no half measures. Those who pledged their allegiance to the messenger of God, peace be upon him, at the second pledge of Aqaba, before the migration, understood this reality well. Ibn Ishaq narrates that when the group had gathered to pledge their loyalty to the Prophet, Abbas ibn Ubadu ibn Adla, the Ansari from the tribe of Banu Salim ibn Auf, addressed them saying, O people of Khazraj, do you know upon what terms you are pledging allegiance to this man? They replied, Yes. He said, You are pledging to wage war against the red and the black of mankind. If you foresee that your wealth will be consumed, and your nobles killed, and you would then abandon him, then now is the time to stop pledging your allegiance. For if you abandon him, by God, it will bring disgrace in this world and the hereafter. But if you are determined to fulfill the pledge despite the loss of wealth and the killing of your nobles, then take him, for by God, he is the best in this world and the hereafter. They said, We shall take him despite the loss of wealth and the killing of nobles. What do we gain in return, O Messenger of God, if we fulfill this pledge? He replied, Paradise. They said, Stretch forth your hand. So he stretched out his hand, and they pledged allegiance to him. These men understood, just as the leaders of Quraysh had understood before, the true nature of this faith. It stands, as sharp as the edge of a sword, for justice and equity, for the establishment of human life on these principles. It accepts no tyranny from a tyrant, no injustice from an oppressor, no arrogance from the arrogant. It tolerates no exploitation, no degradation of human dignity. Hence, every tyrant, every oppressor, every arrogant exploiter becomes its enemy and lies in wait to oppose its call and its followers. Do they not think that they will be resurrected on a great day, the day when all mankind will stand before the sustainer of all worlds? Indeed, their conduct is astonishing. For the mere thought of being resurrected on that great day, when all people will stand stripped of all worldly ties before the sustainer of all worlds, having no protector but him, yearning only for his judgment, knowing that they have no guardian nor helper besides him. This mere thought should have been enough to deter them from cheating, from unlawfully consuming the wealth of others, and from using their power to oppress and defraud. Yet they persist in their fraudulence, as if they do not think they will be resurrected. It is a strange and perplexing affair. In the first passage, they are named those who cheat in measure. But in the second passage, they are called the wicked, as they are grouped with the transgressors, and their state in life, their standing before God, and their fate on the day of resurrection are all discussed. No, indeed, the record of the wicked is in Sijjin. And what will make you understand what Sijjin is? It is a book inscribed. Woe on that day to the deniers, those who deny the day of judgment. None denies it but the transgressor, the sinful. When our revelations are recited to him, he says, tales of the ancients. No, rather, their hearts have become corroded by what they used to earn. No, indeed, on that day, they will be veiled from their sustainer. Then, indeed, they will burn in hellfire. Then it will be said, this is what you used to deny. They do not believe they will be resurrected on a great day, and so the Qur'an rebukes them, warning that their deeds are recorded in a book, whose place is specified for further emphasis. It threatens them with woe on that day when their inscribed record will be laid bare. No, indeed, the record of the wicked is in Sijjin. And what will make you understand what Sijjin is? It is a book inscribed. Woe on that day to the deniers. The term the wicked refers to those who exceed all bounds in sin and transgression. The word itself conveys this meaning. Their record is a chronicle of their deeds. We do not know its nature, nor are we required to. It is part of the unseen, of which we know only what the divine has revealed to us. No more, no less. But there is a record of the deeds of the wicked, which the Qur'an says is in Sijjin. Then, it poses the familiar rhetorical question of the Quranic style. And what will make you understand what Sijjin is? Casting an aura of grandeur, indicating that the matter is beyond comprehension, more immense than what the human mind can encompass. Yet, by stating, indeed, the record of the wicked is in Sijjin, a specific location is assigned, though it remains unknown to humanity. This specification reinforces the listener's conviction by suggesting the existence of this book. This is the intended effect of revealing this reality to this extent, without further elaboration. Then, the description of the record of the wicked is revisited, affirming that it is indeed a book inscribed, a record finalized, neither augmented nor diminished, until it is presented on that momentous day. On that day, woe shall be upon those who deny the truth. The subject of their denial is made clear, and the nature of these deniers is revealed. Those who deny the day of judgment, and none denies it except the transgressor steeped in sin. When our revelations are recited to him, he says, tales of the ancients. It is transgression and sinfulness that lead a person to deny that day, and to display such insolence towards the Qur'an, dismissing its verses as mere tales of the ancients, verses that contain stories of old, recounted for reflection and admonition, revealing the unchanging ways of God that govern the fate of mankind in a pattern unalterable and just. This arrogance and denial are met with stern rebuke. No, it is not as they say. Then the cause of their arrogance and denial is exposed, the reason for their blindness to the clear truth is unveiled. Rather, their hearts have been covered by what they used to earn. Their hearts have been encrusted by the sins they accumulated. A heart that persists in sin becomes clouded and darkened, enveloped in a thick covering that blocks the light and prevents it from perceiving the light, losing its sensitivity gradually until it becomes callous and dead. Ibn Jarir, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasai, and Ibn Majah all narrate, through various chains, from Muhammad ibn Ajlan, from Al-Kaka ibn Hakim, from Abu Salih, from Abu Huraira, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, when a servant commits a sin, a black mark is inscribed on his heart. If he repents, his heart is polished, but if he continues, the black mark increases until it overwhelms his heart. This is the run that God mentioned. No, rather, their hearts have been covered by what they used to earn. At-Tirmidhi classified this as Hasan Sahih, and An-Nasai's version states, when a servant commits a sin, a black mark is inscribed on his heart. If he refrains, seeks forgiveness, and repents, his heart is polished, but if he returns to sin, the mark increases until it covers his heart, and this is the run that God spoke of. Al-Hasan al-Basri said, it is sin upon sin, until the heart becomes blind and dies. This is the state of the wicked deniers, and this is the cause of their wickedness and denial. Then, their fate on that great day is mentioned, a fate befitting their wickedness and denial. No, indeed, on that day, they will be veiled from their sustainer. Then, indeed, they will burn in hellfire. Then it will be said, this is what you used to deny. Their hearts were veiled by sins and transgressions, veiling them from the awareness of their sustainer in this life. Their hearts were darkened and blinded in this world, so their natural end, the just recompense in the hereafter, is that they will be deprived of gazing upon the countenance of their sustainer, barred from that supreme bliss, which is reserved only for those whose souls have been purified, refined, and cleansed, worthy of having the veils lifted between them and their sustainer, as mentioned in Surah Al-Qamar. On that day, faces will be radiant, gazing upon their sustainer. But as for those veiled from their sustainer, that veil is a torment beyond all torment, a deprivation above all deprivation. It is the wretched end of a being whose very humanity is drawn from its connection to the spirit of its noble sustainer. When this connection is severed, the human being loses its nobility, sinking to a state that merits the punishment of hell. Then, indeed, they shall be cast into hellfire, and alongside the torment, there shall be the rebuke, worse than the torment itself. This is what you used to deny. Then, the other side of the story is presented, the story of the righteous, following the Quranic method of often juxtaposing two contrasting realities, two states with their respective ends. No, indeed, the record of the righteous is in Al-Qur'an. And what can make you understand what Al-Qur'an is? It is a record inscribed, witnessed by those nearest to God. Truly, the righteous will be in bliss, reclining on couches, gazing around. You will recognize in their faces the radiance of bliss. They will be given to drink pure wine, sealed, whose seal is musk. For this, let those who aspire, aspire. Its mixture will be from tasnim, a spring from which those nearest to God drink. The word no comes at the beginning of this passage to reject the denial mentioned before in the words, then it will be said, this is what you used to deny. It is followed by the firm and emphatic declaration about the righteous. If the record of the wicked is in Sijjin, then the record of the righteous is in Al-Qur'an. The righteous are those who obey and do all that is good, contrasting with the wicked, who transgress all bounds. The word Al-Qur'an suggests elevation and loftiness, implying that Sijjin signifies degradation and lowness. Then, it is followed by the familiar Quranic question of awe and wonder, and what can make you understand what Al-Qur'an is? This conveys that the matter is beyond human comprehension and knowledge. Returning from this evocative imagery, the reality of the record of the righteous is affirmed. It is a record inscribed, witnessed by those nearest to God. The meaning of inscribed has been mentioned before, and here it is added that the close angels witness and see this record. Stating this fact casts a noble, pure, and elevated light upon the record of the righteous. It is a sight for the honored angels, who find delight in what it contains of noble deeds and qualities. This adds a subtle and refined honor to the mention of this record. Then, the state of the righteous themselves, the owners of this noble record, is described. It portrays the bliss they will enjoy on that great day. Truly, the righteous will be in bliss, contrasting with the hellfire that will be the end of the wicked, reclining on couches, gazing around. They are in a state of honor, able to look wherever they wish, untroubled by disgrace, undistracted by hardship. They recline on couches, which are like thrones in canopied enclosures, similar to what we call canopies or curtains today. The worldly image of this was the height of luxury and refinement for the rough-living Arab. As for its heavenly counterpart, its knowledge is with God. In any case, it surpasses all that humans know from their experiences and imaginations. In this bliss, they are radiant in both soul and body, their faces and features glowing with the light of delight, visible to all who see them, for you will recognize in their faces the radiance of bliss. They will be given to drink of a pure wine, sealed with musk. This pure wine is the most refined, untainted by any impurity or blemish. The description of it being sealed with musk suggests that it is prepared and stored in vessels, carefully sealed, to be opened at the moment of drinking. This conveys an air of preservation and meticulous care. The seal of musk adds a touch of elegance and luxury, hinting at an exquisite experience. Such an image can only be grasped by humans within the confines of their earthly understanding. But there, in the hereafter, their tastes and perceptions will align with a reality unbounded by the limitations of this world. Before completing the description of the drink, which continues in the next 2 verses, its mixture will be from Tasnim, a spring from which those nearest to God drink. The verse interjects with this rhythm and direction: for this, let those who aspire, a deep rhythm that conveys so much. Those who defraud others, consuming their wealth unjustly and giving no thought to the day of judgment, are veiled in darkness by their sins and transgressions. These men compete fiercely for the fleeting gains of this worldly life, each striving to outpace the other, to grasp the largest share of its paltry, ephemeral pleasures. Thus, they oppress, sin, and commit vile acts in pursuit of a fleeting and worthless portion of this transient world. But in truth, it is not this meager, fleeting display that is worthy of competition. True competition is for that eternal bliss, that divine honor. In that, let the competitors compete, for it is a goal deserving of every effort, an ambition that justifies every struggle, a pursuit that outweighs all others. Those who vie for worldly gains, no matter how great they seem, are merely competing for something insignificant, something bound to perish. The world, in the sight of God, is not worth the wing of a gnat, while the hereafter weighs heavily in his balance. It is, therefore, a reality that truly deserves striving, truly merits the race. And how strange it is that competition for the hereafter elevates the souls of all who partake in it, while competition for worldly gain degrades them all. The pursuit of eternal bliss brings prosperity, purity, and righteousness to the earth, while the pursuit of worldly goods leaves it a desolate swamp, where worms devour one another, or venomous creatures gnaw at the skins of the righteous. Competing for the joys of the hereafter does not leave the earth barren, as some might misconstrue. Islam makes this world the seedbed for the hereafter, making the stewardship of the earth, through righteous living and devotion, the true believer's mission. This stewardship is an act of worship, fulfilling the purpose of existence as decreed by God. I have not created the jinn and humankind except to worship me. The command in that, let the competitors compete, is a call to lift the eyes and hearts of humanity beyond the narrow, fleeting confines of this earth, even as they cultivate it, to raise their sights to higher, purer realms, even as they purify and tend to this one. For the lifespan of a man in this fleeting life is limited, while his life in the hereafter is known only to God. The pleasures of this earth are finite, but the delights of paradise are beyond human imagination. The standard of bliss in this world is known, but the standard of bliss in the hereafter is befitting of eternity. How then can one compare the two? How can any goal of this world compare to the ultimate goal of the hereafter, even by the reckoning of gain and loss as understood by mankind? Indeed, The true race is towards that eternal abode, and in that, let the competitors compete. It is as though the description of the bliss awaiting the righteous has been prolonged in preparation for recounting what they endured at the hands of the wicked, the torment, mockery, and derision. The narrative lingers on this too, only to conclude with the scene of the disbelievers witnessing the bliss of the righteous. Indeed, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed. And when they passed by them, they would wink at one another in mockery. And when they returned to their people, they would return jesting. And when they saw them, they would say, "Indeed, those are truly lost." But they had not been sent as guardians over them. So today, those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers, on adorned couches, observing the scenes the Qur'an depicts, of the criminals mocking the believers. Their vile treatment, and their arrogant claims, are drawn from the reality of Meccan society. Yet they recur in many generations and places, as though these verses were revealed to describe them. This proves that the nature of the sinful criminals remains consistent in their stance against the righteous, in all times and places. Indeed, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed used to laugh, for the worldly life is now folded away. As if the listeners are now in the hereafter, witnessing the bliss of the believers, with a reminder of what once was in the world. Indeed, they laughed at the believers, mocking them, deriding them, whether because of their poverty, their humble circumstances, their inability to retaliate, or their dignity in the face of the wicked. All this would provoke the laughter of those who sinned, as they made the believers the subject of their base humor and vile jokes. They inflicted harm upon them, then laughed that despicable, low laughter at the suffering they caused, while the believers bore it all with patience, dignity, and the refined manners of true faith. And when they pass by the believers, they exchange winks and glances, a silent language of mockery. With a mere gesture of the eye, a slight nod of the head, or a subtle hand movement, they communicate their scorn. It is a despicable act, revealing the depth of their vulgarity and the complete absence of decency. Their aim is to wound the hearts of the believers, to make them feel small and ashamed, while these base souls revel in their derision. When they return to their own people, having indulged their petty, wicked desires by ridiculing and harming the believers, they are filled with glee. They are pleased with themselves, taking perverse delight in their small, mean-spirited evil. They feel no remorse, no shame for the vile deeds they've committed. This is the lowest point to which a soul can descend, a state where the conscience is utterly dead. And when they see the believers, they say, "Indeed, those are the misguided ones." This is the height of irony, for nothing is more absurd than these wicked sinners speaking of guidance and misguidance. When they see the believers, they boldly proclaim, "Indeed, those are the misguided ones." A statement made with confidence and contempt, meant to belittle and disgrace. But wickedness knows no bounds, feels no shame in its words, and hesitates at no act. To accuse the believers of being misguided, when uttered by these criminals, is a reflection of the nature of their depravity, which transgresses every limit. The Quran does not pause to argue on behalf of the believers, nor does it engage with the baselessness of the slander. It is a wicked lie that does not merit discussion. Instead, the Quran responds with a lofty scorn, turning the tables on those who arrogantly meddle in matters that are not theirs to judge. But they were not sent as guardians over them. They were not tasked with overseeing the believers, nor were they appointed to evaluate their worth. So why do they concern themselves with such judgments? With this elevated mockery, the Quran closes the chapter on what the criminals did in this world, a scene that has now ended, to present the current scene, where the believers dwell in bliss. But today, those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers, on adorned couches, observing. Today, the disbelievers are veiled from their sustainer, enduring the agony of this separation, a torment that strips them of their very humanity, as they are plunged into the fire, along with the taunts and reproaches. This is what you used to deny. But today, the believers recline on couches, observing, in that everlasting bliss, partaking of a nectar sealed with musk, mixed with the purest water of tasnim. Today, Those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers. Once more, the Quran returns to its elevated scorn as it asks, have the disbelievers been rewarded for what they used to do? Indeed, have they received the reward for their deeds? We witness them now in the depths of hell, where they have surely met their recompense. It is their reward, though the very word here carries a bitter irony that the disbelievers may not even grasp. Let us pause before this scene, which the Quran elaborates with such rich imagery and detailed movement, just as it previously expanded on the bliss of the righteous and their countless blessings. This extension, from a literary and psychological perspective, is a masterful technique, deeply effective in its expression and healing to the soul. For the small band of Muslims in Mecca endured the harsh cruelty and persecution of the disbelievers, a trial that deeply wounded their spirits. Yet their sustainer did not leave them without comfort, for he continually strengthened and consoled them. This detailed portrayal of their suffering at the hands of the disbelievers serves as a balm for their hearts. Their sustainer is the one who describes these afflictions, witnessing them all, never ignoring them, even if he allows the disbelievers a temporary reprieve. This alone suffices to soothe the believers' hearts, to heal their wounds. For God sees how the wicked mock them, how the criminals torment them, how the scoffers delight in their pain without a shred of remorse. Their sustainer sees all this and records it in his revelation. This is a matter of weight in his balance, and this knowledge is enough for the believers. Yes, it is enough when the faithful heart fully grasps it, no matter how wounded it may be. Moreover, their sustainer mocks the criminals with a lofty, piercing irony that might be lost on the hardened hearts of the sinners, encrusted as they are with layers of sin. But the sensitive, refined hearts of the believers perceive it, appreciate it, and find peace in it. These faithful hearts behold their state before their sustainer, basking in the bliss of his gardens, honored in the company of the highest assembly. At the same time, they witness the fate of their enemies, their humiliation in the divine presence and their torment in the inferno, compounded by degradation and disgrace. This contrast is laid out before them in detail and with great emphasis, allowing them to fully grasp and savor the reality of their own state, as if it were a certainty already lived. There is no doubt that this vivid perception soothes the bitterness of the suffering, mockery, and weakness they endure. Indeed, in some hearts, this bitterness is transformed into sweetness as they envision these scenes in the noble revelation. It is worth noting that this was the sole divine consolation offered to the beleaguered and tormented believers, this promise of paradise for them and hellfire for the disbelievers, a complete reversal of fortunes between this world and the hereafter. This was the only promise given by the Prophet, peace be upon him, to those who pledged their loyalty to him, even as they sacrificed their wealth and lives. As for victory in this world, and dominion on earth, such promises were never mentioned in the Quranic revelations in Mecca as a source of comfort or reassurance. The Quran was nurturing hearts that were being prepared to bear the weight of the divine trust. These hearts needed to be so resilient, strong, and selfless that they did not look to this world for anything in return, not even the triumph of the faith or the ascendancy of Islam and the believers. Their gaze was fixed solely on the hereafter, seeking only the pleasure of God. These hearts were being readied to traverse the entire journey of this life in toil, hardship, deprivation, suffering, and sacrifice, all without the expectation of any worldly reward, even if that reward were the victory of their cause and the success of Islam. Only when such hearts had been formed, hearts that knew there was nothing before them in this earthly journey except to give without receiving, and to await the hereafter as the only promised reward and the only arena for the final judgment between truth and falsehood, only then, when God knew the sincerity of their pledge and commitment, did he grant them victory on earth and entrust them with his divine mission. But this victory was not for their own sake, it was to uphold the divine order with integrity, as they were now proven worthy of this trust, having been promised nothing of worldly gain to claim, and having truly dedicated themselves to God when they expected no other reward than his pleasure. All the verses that mention victory in this world were revealed in Medina, after this stage. By then, the prospect of worldly success had been removed from the believers' expectations and hopes. The victory itself came because God's will decreed that his plan should manifest in the human experience in a tangible, practical way for future generations to witness. It was not a reward for toil, struggle, sacrifice, and pain, but rather a decree from God, behind which lies a wisdom that we now strive to comprehend.